Do you think we're going to see more attempted coup events like these?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Is this Act One of a 5-act play, and is there more to come, or is this the whole play? And I would guess it's Act One. There's a book, very famous book written on Russia that's called Nothing is True and Everything is Possible. So let's talk quickly about what's true. Putin has been weakened. You had mercenary troops, probably the best mercenary army in the world, marching within 100, 150 miles of Russia, and they were not stopped. They were not halted. They were not even slowed down by Putin's troops. We know that. We know that Russian troops in Ukraine are already demoralized, 100,000 casualties already. So these are the facts. These are the facts on the ground. What we don't know is will the fissures in Putin's camp now be more prevalent? Will people see something's on the move now? This is our time to make a move. Will Prigozhin remain alive in Belarus? Where will he go? Will he continue to command the Wagner troops, which, by the way, are filthy rich and making money off gold mines and other things across Africa and also in Syria? And who will they take their orders from? Will they take their orders from Putin, or will they take them from Prigozhin? So what we know is a weakened Putin. We know a demoralized troops. We know a real chance on the ground for Ukraine, but it's the unknowns right now that are much more important. So the next hours, the next days are going to be crucial, because I don't think this is a one-act play. I think this is a longer play that's just started to play out.
And it seems clear that Prigozhin's sort of dissatisfaction with the Russian military and the way that Ukraine has been waged is widely shared within Russia by soldiers or their families who feel that they've been put in unnecessary danger by, even the way that the Wagner group was cheered when it entered that first city before marching on towards the capital. So all of that said, Fred, the thing I still don't understand is Prigozhin's claim that, Russian troops fired on them first. Do you think there's any, and they claim that, they're going to the capital as in defense of themselves, more or less. What do you think is really going on here? Because it seems unlikely that Russia would pick a fight with them.
Well, unlikely that Putin would pick a fight for him, but maybe not unlikely that the defense minister Shoigu and the chief of staff Gerasimov, who he has had in his gun sights, Prigozhin has. So he has not, the whole time over the weekend, Prigozhin never said anything about Putin. He's criticized only the defense ministry and the military. Prigozhin has left his options open with Putin. Even today in the statement he made, where he did confirm that 30 of his troops had been killed and that they were trying to dismantle, and they were trying to put them into the regular military, and his men don't want to come into the regular military. So Prigozhin's been called a traitor. Most people called traitors by Putin don't stay alive all that long. On the other hand, he's one of Putin's closest allies over many, many years, and he hasn't criticized Putin yet. So I think what to watch very closely right now is, does Prigozhin survive? The other thing to watch very closely is the rumors are that his deal for leaving the country was Gerasimov and Shoigu, his enemies in the Ministry of Defense and Chief of Staff, would step down. We haven't seen any sign of that, and they've been largely silent. So there's a lot still to play out, but I think what we do know is important fissures. They're unlikely to close quickly. Putin looks weak. And if I were the Ukrainians right now, and also the Ukrainians' friends in the White House and elsewhere, I would press the advantage on the ground, because if I were a Russian soldier in the front lines of Ukraine right now, I think I wouldn't quite know what I'm fighting for.
And a great place for us to leave it and turn to Marko with a question about how you think this is likely to play out in terms of the conflict, Marko. And one area I just think everybody should be mindful of is soft commodities in particular, wheat, those kinds of things, where this is a big part of the world that they come from. And we've already seen massive food pressures in Britain, in Europe especially, and that could worsen things and make central banks more hawkish. So just walk us through the implications.
Well, the way to invest based on the Ukraine conflict has been to fade risks. That has been the winning strategy really since March and April. Basically going short bonds, not long, as you would in a geopolitical crisis, then shorting oil in June of last year, and then going long Europe. And so every step of the way, the geopolitical risk premium has dissipated. And the way to harvest geopolitical alpha has been to basically fade risks. The problem now is that it's very difficult to find any part of the global asset picture where there's any geopolitical risk premium left. As far as the market is concerned, the Ukraine war has been over since September. I mean, I know it sounds hyperbolic, but that's what the market has been telling us. And so I think even though I may have a sanguine view of where Ukraine and Russia go for the next 6 months,